So it's basically common knowledge now that the CIA has sort of a weird portfolio of work. Now, I can't remember exactly how I found what I'm about to show you, but I think I was looking at some sort of an article on, like, declassified US government documents, and I found this one dated June 9th, 1983. It was this really unsettling document from the CIA, and it was titled Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. They were basically saying that if you follow these instructions, your consciousness will leave your body, and you can basically just fly to wherever the fuck you want to go. Yeah.
John, this is a stupid idea for a video. Clearly this is just some fake little story that someone wrote to scare people.
Originally, I thought the same thing. Yeah, this shit is definitely fake. Until I downloaded the full report from the official CIA website. Yeah, this document was legitimately from the United States government, so I downloaded it, and here's what I found as I started reading. Basically, the CIA was working with this company called the Monroe Institute, and they specialize in the global awakening of human consciousness. Cool. So a bit of backstory on these guys. The Monroe Institute was founded by a guy named Robert Monroe, who basically was trying to find a scientific approach to out-of-body experiences. If you've never heard of an out-of-body experience, you may have heard those stories of when people are clinically pronounced dead, and they sort of kind of view what's going on outside of their body from a third-person perspective. Even though that sounds crazy, it's a surprisingly common occurrence, and a lot of people recall being able to, like, see and hear everything that was going on in the room, and sometimes they're actually pretty accurate. So back to Robert Monroe. For some strange reason, he claims to have had these out-of-body experiences somewhat frequently throughout his life, and as a result, he's pretty much dedicated the rest of his life to studying the phenomenon and trying to figure out how to induce them on command. So him and a bunch of these other scientists got together and they founded the Monroe Institute, and they developed these tapes called Hemi-Sync, which basically synchronizes the two hemispheres of your brain and claims to literally induce out-of-body experiences and basically let you fly around the fucking world to wherever the hell you want. Okay, that sounds unbelievable, right? That is total crazy talk. This guy is clearly just hallucinating, or he's making it up, right? Well, that's where it gets weird. If this is all fake and this is all just like some weird scam, then why is the CIA investigating it? Now, to answer that question, let's actually take a look at the document. Fundamentally, the Gateway experience is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and right hemispheres, so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. The participant then gains access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. What differentiates the Gateway experience from forms of meditation is its use of the Hemi-Sync technique, which is defined in a monograph by the Monroe Institute trainer Melissa Yeager as a state of consciousness defined when the EEG patterns of both hemispheres are simultaneously equal in amplitude and frequency. Although Hemi-Sync seems to be rather rare and of only short duration in ordinary human consciousness, Melissa Yeager states that audio techniques developed by Bob Monroe can induce and sustain Hemi-Sync with the Institute's basic Focus 3 tapes. Now, I think you're starting to see why this kind of grabbed my attention. This was less and less looking like some hoax, and more like some well-researched, like, actual study. So the document goes on to explain how these Hemi-Sync tapes actually work. To achieve synchronization of brain hemispheres, the Hemi-Sync technique takes advantage of a phenomenon known as the frequency-following response, which means that if a subject hears a sound produced at a frequency which emulates one of those associated with the operation of a human brain, the brain will try to mimic the same frequency pattern by adjusting its brainwave output. Therefore, if the subject is in a fully awake state but hears sound frequencies which approximates brainwave output at the theta level, the subject's brain will endeavor to alter its brainwave pattern from the normal beta to the theta level. Since the theta level is associated with sleep, the subject concerned may progress from a fully awake to a sleep state provided that he does not consciously resist, as the brain strives to entrain its wave output with the one which the person hears. Since these brainwave frequencies are outside the spectrum of sounds which can be heard in pure form by the human ear, Hemi-Sync must produce them based on another phenomenon known as the brain's capacity for deducing beat frequencies. If the human brain is exposed to one frequency in the left ear, which is 10 Hz below another audible frequency played in the right ear, rather than hearing either of the two audible frequencies, the brain chooses to hear the difference between them, the beat frequency. So you see what I mean? It's like, this sounds like some crazy, like, creepypasta that some guy threw on Reddit, but again, this is an official CIA document from the United States government. It starts to get even more scientific and complicated. It talks about all the different intricate parts of the brain, and it even gets into the nature of time and space and how those different parts of the brain and how they work may be able to communicate with and portray itself onto the universe. It's honestly very intricate and it gets very scientific, so it's kind of hard to just summarize in one video. I actually picked up Rob Monroe's book, Journeys Out of the Body, which was an interesting read, to say the least, and in it he basically explains that his soul was essentially able to leave his body, and from there he could basically fly to wherever and whenever he desired. He even explains traveling to several different dimensions, which again was interesting. Regardless, after all of their research and playing around with the tapes and seeing what they could get to happen, here's what they ultimately concluded at the end of the paper. There is a sound, rational basis in terms of physical science parameters for considering Gateway to be plausible in terms of its essential objectives. Intuitional insights of not only personal but of a practical and professional nature would seem to be within bounds of reasonable expectations. In a section above that, they discuss the possibilities for using this for sort of a reconnaissance use. To date, according to one of the trainers at Monroe Institute, numerous experiments have been conducted involving persons moving from one coast to the other in the out-of-body state to read a series of 10 computer-generated numbers in a university laboratory. Although most have acquired enough of the digits to make it clear that their consciousness was present, none have ever succeeded in getting all 10 correct. Wait a minute, so you're telling me these guys were able to get some guy in New York to read a set of numbers on a wall in California by flying his consciousness thousands of miles away from his body? And again, this isn't an official CIA report. But alright, hold on a minute, because there's a very important piece to all of this that I've been neglecting to mention. And that's that you basically have to be asleep for this to work. So, yeah, that really throws a wrench into the feasibility of any of this actually being real. So let me ask you a question. If I concentrate on being at Disneyland while I'm trying to fall asleep, and then I end up having a dream that I'm in Disneyland, is it more likely that A, my mind was just tricked into having a dream by the power of suggestion, or B, that my soul left my body and flew hundreds of miles away to Disneyland? Well, according to Robert Monroe, the answer is B. What? Now, believe it or not, but I actually got my hands on the official Hemi-Sync tapes from the 1980s. I tried following the instructions, I listened to everything, and guys, it's bullshit. Are you really surprised? Sadly, I can't share any of that audio with you because of copyright, but it was basically just a guided meditation followed by those binaural beats. I'm not going to show you the exact ones, but here's just an example of what that sounds like. I won't lie, it was actually very calming to listen to the tapes. They might be good for a traditional meditation, but in terms of making your consciousness leave your fucking body, yeah, I don't know about that. Just because the CIA took a look at it and looked into it a little bit doesn't really give this any validation at all. The CIA was off their fucking rocker back in those days, so this really isn't that out of the ordinary, to be honest. So yeah, it's fake. Which is fucking lame as hell. I was so pumped to pop on my headphones and open a gateway to the fucking ether. But I guess some dreams are just that. Dreams.